Oh my God!
Someone phone 911.
Yeah, someone call 911. I'm not in a good position because Dave got here early. Wow, wowee. Hey, welcome everybody.
Look,
Welcome to Talking.
if you make sure just in case you succumb to a heart attack, make sure everything keeps going so I can continue the show.
What, with me lying here like this in the middle of the show doing nothing, right? Yeah. And Dave just blabs on and says, "Why haven't the cops got there?"
Yeah, they're in the background. Here's in the background. Peter's like this, dead.
Yeah, and he's thinking in his mind, "Why haven't the cops got there already?" Yeah. Nobody believes the 911 call. Peter isn't dead.
The show must go on.
Yeah. Okay, so Wayne Redekop is defiant over the appointed Niagara chair concept. He doesn't like it, and basically he's going to town on it. But basically, this is new Bill 100, which is going to be putting this out.
Yes. Actually, Redekop has put it out there. Here's the letter. You want me to read the letter? He sent the letter, and it's a brief one, and it's one of those whereases types. It says, response to provincial proposal. We first should say that this is a reaction to the province wanting to appoint a chair and to have more power, presumably, than the elected members that would be under that chair. And that is what is so irksome to Redekop and so many others, that it looks as if the province will have an appointed person that will have power over top of the elected officials. Yeah. Anyway, state advisor, something was happening to my.
Have you got an Amber Alert or something?
Anyway. Yeah, it was kind of odd. It just kind of flipped and did something. Anyway, I'll bring it back up. Yeah, here we go.
All right. Yeah. So because he doesn't like this concept of Bill 100 and what it means about having essentially extending strong mayor powers to the regions and having them select the province select the region who controls the region.
So here's the letter. It's very brief.
Go on.
It says, regarding response to provincial proposal to regional government, the municipal council of Fort Erie at its regular council meeting April 13th, 2026, passed the following resolution. And whereas Ontario is the most populous province in Canada, and whereas one of the hallmarks of democracy is the right to elect its leaders by popular vote, and whereas another hallmark of democracy is ruled by the majority as exercised through elected representatives, and whereas the province of Ontario has introduced legislation, the Better Regional Governments Act 2026, that will alter governance in the regions of Durham, Halton, Muskoka, Niagara, Peel, Waterloo, and York and Simcoe County. And whereas the Better Regional Governments Act 2026 proposes the appointment by the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing of the chairs of those regional councils and the warden of the county. And where's the rest of it? Shoot.
You only got half the letter?
Yeah, for some reason I don't have the conclusion.
I think the conclusion is wrapped up in the rest of this anyway, that he doesn't like the strong mayor powers, the that ability to override gridlock, council gridlock, which Ford wants in all of this, and doesn't like this whole anti-democratic concept of it.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find that letter somewhere.
Because at the end of the day, the core tension in all of this is that Ford's model emphasizes accountability upwards, i.e., from the region or from the city to the province. And opponents like Redekop argue that regional chairs should be accounted downwards, i.e., to local voters. I'm guessing that Dave had a problem there, and that's the key difference. There is that Wayne Redekop is framing Bill 100 as democratic erosion, and it shifts who the chair is ultimately answerable to, i.e., not the people of our region. Right. So there's a practical layer. Regional governments can block and delay provincial priorities for zoning, development, and infrastructure, but also the control at regional level. Controlling the leadership at the regional level reduces that risk as far as the provincial government is concerned. All right, so that's the two factors there, and hopefully this gets.
I am back. Here I am.
I was just saying about the paradigm here is that with essentially being accountability, Ford's model is looking for accountability upwards, i.e., to the province, and Wayne Redekop is saying we should be accountable downwards to local voters, and that's the key between the two models.
I think so. Like you see, if you see both sides of this, Dougie is very frustrated at the slow-moving, ponderous, bureaucratic-laden governance, high taxes, and things like that. Of course, he wants to fix it, and once he wants to fix it, he wants to give somebody sort of like he did the strong mayor's power and things like that can speed up certain aspects of municipal government. Now, the strong mayor powers really don't add up to do much because there is power of the council over the mayor, and he can be held back on this. But the principle here is there's an appointed representative that will govern us, will be more important than our elected officials. That is the slippery slope. That is the slippery slope most people are worried about. Now you find that those who did not support the letter were the big ones, like Welland, Niagara Falls, and St. Catharines did not support this letter. They're more inclined to go with the appointed representative. There are other various, but of the municipalities, 6-5 of the mayors voted for the letter to be sent. So that's a pretty slim majority, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's among the mayors. I forget how it worked out among the regular regional councilors. It says here somewhere. It shows who voted yes and who voted no, and there's 18 that voted yes to get this letter out there. Of the oh my God, scanning your device. Anyway, perhaps other counselors who don't, and they go on to say, like Campion, for instance, says Campion said he couldn't support a letter that can't be amended, referencing his support for provincial powers that allow a mayor or chair to hire and fire the CEO. This is the example he puts out here. Perhaps you have counselors who don't like the clerk, or for whatever reason, Campion said, expanding on his example, the clerk is following the proper procedure, and maybe the counselors aren't getting the answers they want. They use their leverage on the CEO, saying that they're going to fire you if you don't fire the clerk. You may have a great clerk who does a great job for the city. Okay, yeah, this is the age-old story about elected and appointed officials. If you hire somebody and they're not giving you the answers you want, you fire them, and you find somebody that gives you the answers you want. That is quite often the problem with elected officials. And the most glaring example of that, of course, was in the Jim Crow South in the United States. A judge knew that he could not convict a white person over any transgression he did to a black person, because he would lose the election the next time around. So no matter how egregious the crime, the white judge could not, if he wanted to keep his job, could not pronounce a fair sentence on the white person. That's the most glaring example of that. We find that in the West Bank now, in Gaza too, where all sorts of transgressions are going. The settler movement beating up on Palestinians, both Muslim and Christian Palestinians, destroying their stuff, and the army watches on. And they always say, "Oh, these people will face." They've been arrested and they'll face charges. Well, they usually get dismissed right away. So it's very clear to anyone there that if you want to be elected, you're going to look the other way when these crimes against the Palestinians are committed. Yeah. So that is the problem with having elected officials, because appointed officials can apply the law regardless of how popular they are.
Yeah.
And so that's the age-old story between the two.
And it's actually the debate. Part of that is about the same sort of debate over elected judges versus appointed judges. We have here in Canada judges that are appointed or apply for the job and therefore appointed by a panel, versus the American system, which actually elects judges. And the trouble is with the American system is we always get too much of the hang 'em high type judges.
Well, the problem there too is they have to be elected, and they cannot. If the law, like I said before, in the South, like they have to pronounce judgments that are in line with their electorate, or they don't get elected again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a popularity contest. They also have to get elected, which means they have to get money. They have to campaign. That means those who give them money are rewarded with favors later. Look the other way about this pollution I'm doing with my power plant down the road. Here's a big pile of money to get elected, and I'm polluting the river down the way. There's probably going to be some legal challenges to that. So we want you to look the other way, or, find ways in which, oh, yes, sir. 3 bags full, sir. Give me the money for my campaign.
Yeah.
So that's the problem here with elected versus appointed officials.
Yeah.
But it is your elected government that appoints the officials. So there's the other draw. If they appoint somebody here to run the region, it is derived from the elected representatives of the Ontario government.
Yeah, but again, the thought that I have is that you may have a perfectly good person, and you may have a perfectly good person who is seen as actually the right person to lead Niagara region, bringing it back home, but because they don't happen to share buddies or be in the same political party as Doug Ford, they're not selected for the job. And yet they might be the perfect Niagara person because they've got embedded within them everything you need with Niagara. And let's take, for example, and I'm going to throw this one in there just for the controversy. Take, for example, a character like Wayne Gates. NDP to the core, right? Even if he were, say a regional councillor, he'd be opposed to Doug Ford on many things. So clearly he might be the right person for the region, right? Arguably not, but you get. I'm just being controversial here, and of course he won't get selected by Doug Ford, will he? Because he's not a true conservative.
Well, that's the other thing, party affiliation, and that was pointed out in the letter too.
Yeah.
If you happen to be politically aligned with Doug, now they got Bob Gill at first, and of course he was politically aligned with the province. He's conservative; they're conservative.
Yeah,
and you make a good point there. They even if somebody like Wayne Gates, if he turned out to be the perfect person for the job, they would less likely be appointing him because he has NDP.
And of course, I picked Wayne quite deliberately because of the NDP thing, right?
Yeah, of course we know that, and so they are already bringing up points that Redekop and the others pointing out. However, there still is this frustration of sort of unsatisfactory governance, over taxation, over governance, inefficiencies in the government. So I don't know. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing right now. We're having a political debate. The politicians, the elected officials, are having a political debate. Redekop has come up with something. Someone else has come up with something before that. I think something from Lincoln. And I should say that Cheryl Gannon from West Lincoln was the only mayor that didn't vote. She was only supposed to vote if there was a tie. So we don't know where Cheryl Gannon sits on that one. I know her. She's a Quanian.
Yeah,
she's a Quanian. Right. So there you have it. Yeah. Basically, you have this divide.
Yeah.
Like
between the two camps, basically, it is.
Well, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Doug's got his idea how things are going to go. He's more like a bull in a china shop. This is how we're going to do it, and it just barges in and knock things over, kind of thing. I suppose it's going to settle down to some reasonable changes in governance to sort of lean towards a more efficient governing system.
I'm not so sure it will lean to more efficiency, but still.
Well, I don't see the region going, but I can see some major revisions. There's got to be something done because our taxes are skyrocketing all the time.
They are. That's the biggest problem. Don't have an immediate answer to that one. All right. Moving on. Hell's Angels boss, Marty Robert, is basically, he wields power and influence in Canadian Hells Angels, but they're shifting to kind of like taking away from the violence, moving towards the illegal gambling, narcotics, and prostitution, i.e., running their businesses, keeping the violence out of it, being low profile.
Well, one of the things, of course, the appeal of the Hells Angels were those people on the fringe that really did not want to live by the rules. They wanted to do what they wanted to do and be as free as they possibly could. At least that's the ideals of them. They even get their names from pilots in the Second World War. However, and of course the Hells Angels running it, they did, of course, then began to attract, the Hells Angels got to finance themselves. So they get into illegal stuff, drugs, they get into prostitution, and all other things. In their old fashioned, basically, they're very, very obvious. They're very in your face. And if you do anything against them, they will come down on you. And the whole idea that they are a force to be reckoned with, they're very crude, vulgar, harsh, and unafraid of anything, kind of. So this is the fear factor that they bring. They're not doing that anymore.
Yeah,
they're not doing that anymore. They still get in their clubhouses and ride around and just feel a community of guys doing what they wanted to do, party, whatever. But underneath the surface, they're getting more sophisticated. And this Marty Roberts is a kind of an example of that. He's as likely to go to Dubai as he is going to a clubhouse anywhere in Montreal or Canada. As a matter of fact, a lot of the Hells Angels are closing up their clubhouses and sort of dissipating. They are much lower profile. They can still have the profile on the outside where they ride around in groups and stuff like that, but you're less likely to be afraid of them. I know there was a time when if you ran into a bunch of Hells Angels and they didn't like the look of you, that was it. You're going to get it. You didn't. But nowadays they're keeping their head down a little bit, and Marty Roberts is one of those guys, and he has international business concerns. So that is a pretty interesting article. It goes on and on about all the different Hells Angel guys there is and how they're sort of changing their image and they're becoming international.
But when you're talking about business, you're talking about shady business, right?
Well, you know what? They could be doing exactly what the mafia did prior to them. They would use the proceeds of illegal business, drugs, prostitution, that kind of thing, and then use that, launder that money, and then reinvest in legitimate
legal businesses. Yeah. And that's been a mafia model since the 70s, realistically, hasn't it?
Well, it goes tough. In the mafia, you got the lower rung guys that still hijack trucks, and then you got the high-end guys that know how to launder money and put it where it needs to be.
Yeah.
So I think when you got guys globetrotting and going to Dubai, and this fella's gone to Dubai, as a matter of fact, in Australia, he met the Hells Angels chief of Australia. So what's that telling you? That they're meeting in Dubai, and Dubai is a business center more than anything, and you could get away with a lot of so-called business in Dubai.
Right. What happens in Dubai stays in Dubai, right?
Exactly. So if they're going to Dubai, they're meeting in Dubai. Who would have ever thought that the leaders of two motorcycle gangs, the Hells Angels, and here's a call out to Gary. I don't think he'd ever think this way, that the HA are meeting in Dubai to sort out business matters. That's I don't think anyone would have expected that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now there's no way of saying you got guys. Sonny Bolger was the guy that ran the Hells Angels for a very long time. Now he's pretty smart. He knew how to stay one step away from the law, and he knew how to have his group of Hells Angels sort of be able to operate within this and never admitted to doing anything of crime at all.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's it's like the Corleone family in the olive oil business,
Yeah, and exactly that. You kind of turn your illegal profits into legal investment.
Yeah, that's part of it, and we saw, of course, in the movie Godfather, they're shifting towards casinos and things of that kind, right? Which are at least ostensibly on the up and up.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is so that's basically what they're doing, taking the proceeds of crime and establishing a more business acumen. I'm not so sure it's going to work for the Hells Angels, but it's very interesting anyway. If you read that article, it gives you a rundown on all the different Hells Angels and what they do and what they have done, et cetera, et cetera. Now, this is not the same as Ma Boucher. This guy started off, R.I.P. I talked to you about Dougie Hoyle, R.I.P. Dougie Hoyle. I talk to you about that next time when we have lunch. Yes, thanks, Gary. I will point out that I lavishly entertained Gary with a tremendous meal of extreme expense, and I was able to talk to people in the restaurant to let him in, because he's a sort of a character, and so anyway. So to be truthful, Gary and I had a great lunch, great discussion. He gave me a piece of anthracite that I think is anthracite. Is a interesting piece of rock that looked like slate, but it's too soft for slate. It's obviously sedimentary, but it's semi-buoyant. So when I looked all those factors up, it indicates it might be anthracite, but I still haven't decided fully yet. And so that was just interesting, damned interesting. Gary's always got something interesting going on. I will give. I did that on purpose too. I was gonna go to Falls Manor, but I realized they had this gift card that I hadn't used. I got about a year and a half ago. I got it I think it was a year and a half ago. But anyways, a long time ago, and I've never used it. It's just hanging around. So I looked up Swiss Chalet to see if they had beer. If you can get beer there, and then so I said, let's go to Swiss Chalet. Do you like Swiss Chalet, Gary? Yeah. and then I made sure you knew that I had a gift card.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Doug Ford basically is saying Canadians love Americans. And he was stressing this during a Michigan visit where he was actually awarded an honorary degree at the University of Michigan.
Yeah. Tell us all about that.
Well, so he was received an honorary doctorate degree, delivered a commencement speech, and again he quoted Ronald Reagan.
Yes. Now here we go. Dougie's in trouble over here all the time, and we just mentioned his sort of.
I love his
anti-democratic approach to the region and his appointing of officials, and yet he's well loved over there. Well, one of the reasons why he's loved in Michigan is because Michigan and Ontario have a strong trading bond.
Of course.
We also have a brand new bridge that the Canadians have built with Canadian money, with Canadian and U.S. material and manpower, and the guy with the Messiah complex doesn't like it, and because the guy in the Ambassador Bridge gave him lots of money for his campaign, so he's going to try to resist opening of the bridge. As if he didn't notice this before, all of a sudden it comes to his attention that there's this massive new bridge that's just about finished, and all of a sudden he says, "Hey, wait a minute, you can't open because for some odd reason." Yeah. And he makes up reasons on the way. Oh, they didn't use American stuff. Well, yes, they did. They didn't use American labor. Oh, yes, they did. Like any old poor excuse at all. We don't know what goes through.
It's as if I twirled my finger, Dave, and all of a sudden went kapow, and the bridge got built overnight, right?
Yeah. Well, what it was that greasy little goon, Ludnick, Epstein's buddy, Ludnick, who pretended he didn't know. That's unbelievable. So Ludnick goes on TV and he says, "Oh, I met Epstein once and he gave me the creeps. He was my neighbor and I never went to see him again." And then it turns out when the Epstein files comes out, he does business with Epstein, and he goes down with his family and friends to go to Epstein Isle and meet and introduce everyone to Epstein to everyone. So the little creep is a liar, of course. He got stuck in that lie. And then he finds out that the guy who owns the Ambassador Bridge, has given Trump money for his campaign and stuff, and that guy goes to Lutnick. Lutnick goes to Trump, and then Trump objects to the bridge, which he hadn't even noticed until now. Makes up a few dumb excuses why it shouldn't open, and he's not going to help it open, and all this dumb. But it's all because of greasy little Lutnick and talking into his ear. It's kind of like a worm tongue.
So here's the question: did Doug Ford come back over the new bridge?
Yeah, it would be nice if he could, eh? He'd probably come under the tunnel. I don't know. I kind of feel that Doug Ford would look better off in a hot air balloon going back and forth across the border. But anyway, he's talking about the relationship between Canada and the U.S. Now, when Trump first got in, Ford was a big fan of his, right? But when Trump did not do what he said he would do back in the first term, Doug kind of turned on him and said, "No way, man! You're not the guy you say you are."
Yeah.
And this happened again. He kind of had hopes for Trump the second time around too, but found that no, he wasn't the guy he said he was. So Doug goes down there to Michigan. Obviously, he's going to be popular in Michigan because he is, he's for trade, open trade between Michigan and Ontario. Michigan and Ontario trade a lot of stuff. We've had a strong bond between Michigan and New York State, and I think it was 17 others. And Doug Ford said that in the morning in the United States, 9 million people wake up to make stuff for Ontario. So of course he's going to be pretty popular in states that depend on trade with Canada, and they make money from trading with Canada, and because they do, like all industrial goods, they make more money than they buy, so they sell more than they buy. The only thing they buy more of is oil. And then they take that oil and make money out of it.
That isn't coming from Ontario. That's coming from other parts.
From Alberta, But Doug will quite often mention that, those things. And he says we're friends. And as a matter of fact, I have stronger feelings for the Americans than I have for a very long time, because they're under a difficult situation right now. They have this sort of cultish guy. I don't know who. He's got strong power over a segment of the population, and he lies all the time, and he gets into wars and all that sort of stuff. So I kind of feel sorry for the Americans in the long way, and I hope this whole thing ends pretty soon, because this divide between, and he's making points to this divide between Canada and the United States is dumb. Any differences we have are so minor, they can be sorted out with a negotiation here or there. And
so
this massive tariff campaign is unwise.
And honestly, I can perceive that Doug Ford has as many phone calls with the governor of Michigan and the governor of New York as he does with Carney and Co. Right?
Yeah. So I don't know. He's got a lot of friends in the Senate. He's got a lot of friends in Congress, and of course, it's because these particular states are dependent on USMCA or CUSMA or whatever you want to call it. That this is very important, and we found that even among Republicans, they've crossed the border or crossed the aisle basically to support the fact that we should have free trade between Mexico and Canada and the United States.
Yeah. Well, because especially those border states that rely upon a lot of that trade, we've got more states that cross border trading in Canada than have Mexico. But even so, there's still a lot of dependencies on Mexico.
it's going to be interesting how Trump will freak out about this. He usually has a freak out anytime something like this doesn't happen. We're going to wonder what his freak out's going to be this time. He's going to blow his top. He's going to add another tariff to Canada, whatever. He's going to isolate Michigan. He's going to denounce Michigan for some reason or other.
Yeah,
like he's trying to do with the bridge. Like the bridge is almost done, and then he says, "Oh, it can't open because I don't like it."
Mm. Yeah.
Nobody on that bridge ever gave me any money for my campaign, so I'm not going to open it.
Yeah, and the bridge will open anyway.
It will, because the state of Michigan won't put up with it.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of votes in Michigan coming up, and so you got to.
The mere fact is, we need another border crossing between Michigan and Ontario.
That's why the Canadian government built.
Yeah. The existing ones have been problematic for quite some time. There was the tunnel, there was the 401 bridge, there was the 402 bridge, and this additional bridge, the Ambassador Bridge and the 402 bridge. And this additional bridge basically makes it, relieves some of the pressure for now, or will do.
Well, pretty much it was perfect arrangement between two countries that are friends.
Yeah.
So Michigan didn't have any money to put into the bridge, but they needed the bridge.
Yeah.
Canada saw that it would be of our interest and our economic interest to build that bridge.
And they funded it.
So we got the money from the feds to build the bridge.
But
because
again,
of course, it's going to stimulate the economy.
But again,
so what the deal was, wait a minute. The deal was that our friend Michigan and our friend Ontario are friends, and Michigan agreed, wants the bridge as much as Ontario does, but they didn't have the money for it. So the arrangement was, you pay for it, and the tolls on the bridge will come back to Canada until it's paid off, and then we share the tolls after that. Perfect.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened with the Peace Bridge. Canada didn't have, Ontario didn't have the money to create the bridge, and they funded it.
Really? I don't know the history of the Peace Bridge so much.
No, that was actually something that did happen. They didn't. It was not quite the same thing, but again, the tolls paid for the building of the bridge ultimately, right?
Well, in this particular case, this is the arrangement they had with Michigan. Yeah. Michigan wants the bridge, but they don't have money for it.
Yeah,
the federal government of Canada came up with the money for it and made an arrangement with Michigan. Michigan wants the bridge. Ontario wants the bridge. So what we'll do is we'll build it. We'll use both Canadian and American material, Canadian and American labor. We'll build the bridge, and the tolls from the bridge will go back to the Canadian government until it's paid. And as soon as the bridge is paid for, then we share the tolls.
Yeah,
between Michigan and Canada.
Yeah, exactly. It's the right way to do it, That's the way that usually happens with a lot of these types of projects, right? One party pays for it. Both parties agree they need it, but one party pays for it, and they get paid back over time. All right. I
don't know. I just thought it was a perfect arrangement between two neighbors, and Michigan dearly wanted this bridge. So did Ontario. It was required, and you had a stranglehold. The guy that owned the Ambassador Bridge had a stranglehold over how much money, and and he limited the amount. Then he goes to Lutnick. He goes knocking on Lutnick's door and says, you realize I gave you $1 million or et cetera, blah, 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 for the Trump's campaign. Then Lutnick runs over to Trump and whispers in his ear, and then Trump has a hissy fit and says, he makes up some dumb stuff about the bridge, absolutely. why it shouldn't open and all that.
Yeah, well, it's like you and I need to build a wall between our gardens because the fencing that's already there has collapsed, right? you got the money for it, I don't have. But what we do is you say, I'll build it, I'll spend the 10 grand, and I say, it's okay, I'll pay you the 5 grand back over the next 3 years. Is that all right? You know, that's kind of the deal we go into, right? You deal with it because it's the right thing to do.
Yes. So anyway,
yeah.
So I don't know, but Doug going over to Michigan, of course, he's going to be welcomed over there.
Yeah,
because he's been fighting for the Michiganonians just as much as they have Ontario, because Michigan and Ontario are tied together with strong trade, and it's in both of their interests to continue that trade without federal government nosing in on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And putting tariffs and restricting bridges from opening and all manner of things. So of course Doug's going to be a hero. Like Trump's got this ability to make Canadian politicians heroes. Like back when Justin was in, very unpopular, and Trump started thumping his chest back in his first term. Trudeau stood up to Trump, and he became more popular than he ever had been up to that point when he pushed back against Trump. And now Dougie's despite all this transgressions he's made in the province and is meddling with regional government and the Greenbelt and all that, he's still quite a hero because he's standing up to Trump. And Carney, he's more popular than ever because what's he doing? He's standing up to Trump.
Yeah.
So Trump's got this way of making our politicians more popular than they should be.
All right. Moving on. Former Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene was told, Trump told her that if her son got killed, it would be her fault. And she basically has been saying that Trump's not, she's been recently receiving death threats against her family, and after she resigned from Congress, right? And that normally that sort of thing, even death threats against an opposition opponent, you would tend to be up against as president. As we don't do, you'd be giving the world a lecture about we don't do that kind of thing. That's un-American. But not so here. He's basically saying it's going to be her fault, and she's a Republican.
Well, Taylor Greene was once, she calls herself a general in the MAGA army that brought Trump into power. She had strong belief in him, a strong belief in MAGA, strong belief in all the things he said he would do. And one of them, of course, was the Epstein files, because the Trump administration, the Republicans and Kash Patel and Bongino and all these other fellas, they all kept saying, we got to get the files out, Pam Bondi, the files, because they thought it was loaded with Democrats. Once they got the files, it started opening them up, and Taylor Greene wanted these to continue to open up. She got a knock on the door and say, shut up about those things. Yeah. And when she put her name on to get the files open up, she got a phone call from Trump, says, don't do that. Trump said, there's friends of mine on that list, so don't get your name off that list. Don't push for it to be those files to go ahead. And she stood her ground, saying there are children that have been violated. Yeah. Young women who have been led down the garden path, and one of the things abused and led. So that was her thing. And then Trump decided, no, that's not going to happen now. Isn't that he didn't say that he was trying to protect himself, but he did say he was trying to protect his friends.
Yeah, and she's saying she's not a traitor to her country. Standing up for rape victims doesn't make her a traitor. That's what she was saying.
No, she made it very clear that when Trump called her a traitor, he didn't mean he was a traitor against the United States. Obviously, that's not true. He felt that she was a traitor against him. And the problem is, then she gets a lot of when he starts calling her a traitor, she gets all kinds of death threats, like pretty gross stuff. And then they target her kid, her son.
Yeah.
And so then she went to Trump and said, look, she's targeting my son, and went to Vance and Patel and all the other major Republicans. Didn't get much of a response, but finally, the second time round, Trump said, it's your own fault that your kid is being targeted. It's your own fault. No sympathy, no nothing. It's your own fault for being a traitor to me. That was his response. That was kind of a wake-up call for her, too. He says, how cold. Like I told you, this guy's a cruel man. And responses like that show his cruelty. The responses to, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that kind of gets us into our next piece, which you did about Trump loyalty cult.
Yes. Now, Mary Taylor Greene is facing a lot of death threats and all of that kind of thing. And she wants Trump to, she feels betrayed. A lot of MAGA does feel betrayed. MAGA is split. Much of MAGA is split because there was supposed to be no new wars. There is a new war. There's supposed to be America first. Look at what's good for America. Right now, what you have is inflation, high gas prices, inflation, and employment's dodgy too. And this is not what it should be, because the American economy should be really exploding right now. It really hasn't. It's being inhibited rather than enhanced by Trump's actions, particularly the ones of war on that. So anyway, so I found an article about the cult of Trump. And actually, I've heard about this for quite some time, that the Trump has a cultish type of appeal to certain people. And he has this solid support, unquestioning support. People who don't question him. Whatever he does must be okay, no matter what he does. If he's an axe murderer, it is part of his plan. So there is this ability that he has to convince supporters to never question what he does, to never question what he does, believe what he says. And there's a process by which that cult starts to happen. First of all, he seems to be a strong, apparent leader. He has lots of people to blame. He starts to point blame at a lot of people, as you noticed. He hasn't shut up about Biden this, Biden that.
Yeah.
Obama, Clinton, Comey. He's always looking for somebody to blame, somebody to prosecute. So it's always somebody else's problem. It's always somebody else's fault. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's her fault that her son is being threatened. By dad.
That's part of the cult leadership we have here, right?
Yeah, and that's part of the cult. It's very much like the Jimmy Jones kind of that cult sort of thing. Not as no one's going to put cyanide in their mouth, but you do have a lot of people who will do extraordinary things for the cult leader, and they put examples of them, those of his following that raided the Capitol building. They were so incensed they raided the Capitol building. They were going to hang Mike Pence, and they were going to do all sorts of violence up there. Normal people in normal situations do not do that.
Don't do that sort of thing. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and so what? You're sad for your leader having lost the election, and you vow that next time around,
not lost. It was stolen. It was stolen. Well, so that's what enrages you. Your leader told you the election was stolen, and you believed.
I was just trying to put normality into it. No. Normal people would say you lost the election. You'd admit it, and you'd kind of go, next time around, we'll beat them.
Well, a cult is like an addiction, and I've joked about this, like strong Trump followers drink the Trump Kool-Aid. It's like an addictive substance they can't get enough of.
Yeah.
And it blocks their ears and eyes to seeing what is actually going on. It kind of limits their eyes, so they can only see, like they'll see something like the Russia thing, but they won't see anything else. Like they'll see one or two things, and they won't see anything else. So if Donald Trump says we're going to get more peace by me doing a war against Iran, they'll believe him.
Yeah. Yeah. And is Trump a charismatic leader?
Yes, he is. To a certain type of person, he's very, very charismatic because he looks to be very strong and authoritative. He always has someone else to blame for what is going wrong.
That actually is a sign of a weak leader, though.
Not if you're a cult leader. If you're a cult leader, you have ability to convince your followers that there are groups out there that are undermining you and are against you. Well, typically the fascist governments and would blame the communists. They would blame the socialists. With Hitler, he blamed Jews. He blamed Jews for undermining Germany. They were the backstabbers, and he got everybody angry at Jews. And then he even changed it to the point where they were subhuman and made people believe that. And people actually believe that. So that you can get people gathering up Jewish and gypsies and putting them into death camps and killing them. And you can convince yourself, well, because they are subhuman vermin. And that's how we got it. So he actually convinced people of doing that. And he said... Gary says, "Are you a leader of said cult, Dave? You, the only guy I know with Trump's pictures on his phone." LOL. Yeah, I showed Gary the picture of Trump being Jesus. Trump, you know that picture of Trump made himself look like Jesus, and then a few days later he has, "Oh no, I pretended to be a doctor, not Jesus." Meanwhile, he's got all the Jesus robes on and all that.
All right. Yeah, but the thing is, I would argue that kind of thing, Doug Ford isn't blaming the problems of that Ontario faces right now upon Kathleen Wynne. He did that a few years ago. He doesn't do that now. He faces up to these things, and he gets on with what he believes is necessary next step to get things changing. Right? You don't hear Doug Ford bleating on about Kathleen Wynne, right? Because and that's the problem that we see with Trump. He's always bleating on about Biden this and Obama that.
I would say yes. When they got in, swift changes were going to happen. Everything is going to be quick and fast, and everything's going to be done well. But as soon as problems started happening and people started questioning this or that or whatever, then it was Biden. Yeah. We got to fix the mess that Biden left. We got to fix it's such a mess. It's worse than we thought. And today you'll find all kinds of Republicans, when pushed on any topic, they'll revert to Biden. Well, how are we supposed to fix the big mess Biden made? Let me point out that even on Fox, they said the last 2 years of Biden were boom markets.
Yeah.
Boom markets.
Boom markets.
And that was because the policies of Biden did, of course.
Well,
even Fox economic report admitted that. So,
but again,
they've had 2 years of boom market,
I'll disagree with you a little bit there, Dave. I don't think you can say that the boom was based on Biden's policies. I think the boom coincidentally happened during Biden's reign.
Every government, it was policies of Biden that didn't stop the, it was his government's policies when it come out of COVID that brought things back. You could have said, well, it was going to happen anyway, but that kind of thing. But they did have a policy. They did have a policy. Obama had a policy, and then the boom continued to happen after Obama was out of office, and he could say, well, that was because of my policies.
Yeah.
So if you want to point fingers like that, so yeah, it might not have a lot to do with Biden. It may have been just the market returning to where it should have been.
Yeah.
But Trump can't then point his finger and say what's happening now is a result of Biden, because Biden hasn't been in for a long time.
Exactly.
And but that's the part of the cult leader sort of thing. You've always has somebody to blame, and you've always got willing listeners to say you must have blamed him. We would have been the shining city on top of the hill if not for the deep state, if not for the Democrats, if not for Biden, if not for this or that, or the stolen election. That's another big thing. He has this ability to make all of the Republicans unable to admit that the election was not stolen. They have to say, when they are asked who won the election, they have to say, oh, the Biden government was installed. So you can't tell me who won the election, can you? The Biden government was installed. So who won? Yeah. Did Trump lose? The Biden government was installed. They will never answer that question, because if they do, Trump will freak out on them, right?
Yeah. All right. And that's part of the problem when you've got this kind of populist style leadership, isn't it?
Well, you got people who will forego the truth for the leader's benefit. So they will not tell the truth for the leader's benefit.
Yeah.
And,
all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, so now, of course, Trump is saying the US-Iran war is over.
He said that from day one, almost. Like the first week, it's over. Second week, it's really over. Third week, it's really, really over. Fourth week, oh, we've done it. We've all, and they go through that whole thing. Got no Air Force, got no Navy, decimated this, decimated that. There's nobody to talk to. Meanwhile, they're in a situation where they're blocking a blockade, basically, that the Iranians won't let anything go through the Straits of Hormuz, and then the Americans come on, make sure that none of the Iranian stuff comes out of the Strait of Hormuz. So what you have, a block of a block, and nothing's being solved. Right now, the world is in a desperate situation, and I sorely say that to the Iranians and the Americans, make a 2-week, 3-week peace. Let everything get out of there, because the world's going to need it. They're going to need it desperately, especially the poor nations, the poor people. Get that fertilizer out of there. Do something like that. Have a sort of, if you want to continue the hostilities between you, at least have a peace where you can get 2 weeks of stuff out of there, get hundreds of these cargo ships out of there to help the world. Yeah. But both of them are too stubborn right now. Mm-hmm. So I think Trump's going to find a way of walking away from this. We saw Senator Kennedy the other day just saying, well, we can walk away from it. We can walk away from it now and claim victory. We can. I mean, that's up to the president, but I'm saying we can walk away from this and claim victory right now. And that's because that's a signal of him to the president that Republicans don't like the situation we're in right now. Our gas prices are high and everything else. We got an election coming up. We'll end this war so the gas prices come down. Yeah.
Yeah, $5 a gallon. Right. Yep. And that's what my American friends are telling me almost every day. They're asking what it's like up here, and Saturday I filled up. It was $1.80 a liter.
I was able to get it for $1.70 last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, $1.71.
Yeah. So you were lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. Yeah. So $1.80 a liter is what I paid, and on Saturday. pretty disgusting, eh?
Yeah, you're looking at 50, 60 cents more per liter. Thank you very much, Donald Jesus Trump. Thank you very much. I mean,
yeah. And the thing is, what I'm hearing is that, for example, Iranian, Indian, and other ships are basically hugging the coastline.
yeah, a couple of them got through. Apparently, a few of them got through. They snuck through, but the problem is we need a lot more through. And I'm saying this like I don't know. The whole world is all talking behind the scenes, and they should be just talking up front that this is not working. We find that Trump is getting in a lot of trouble from his allies, his former allies in Europe, like Giorgia Meloni and others. They're just saying, "Look, you're looking bad here. You're looking really bad. You got to stop this. You're hurting the world economy. You know, you made a mistake. Yeah, I mean, you bombed the crap out of them. Okay, leave it at that. But you just didn't think that Iranians were as strong as they were. And it's going to take you, if you want to defeat them, it's going to take you a year of blockading to do that. In the meantime, the whole world will suffer, and gas prices in the United States will remain very high. So this short-term pain that he talked about, 4 to 6 weeks, now we are in what, week 9 now?
Something like that, yeah. And in fact, actually, the ceasefire is in what, week 3 now?
Yeah, and the only reason why the ceasefire continues is because nobody knows what else to do.
Yeah. And at the moment, the other thing about the ceasefire is that, in fact, actually, arms factories in the US are pumping out as many weapons as they can build in as short a time as they can do right now.
Yeah, and every one of those politicians knew that these big contracts were coming through, so they all made lots of money.
Yeah,
and including Trump's kid, who's invested heavily in drones for the U.S. government.
That was a clear winner. That was a clear winner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I wonder where he got that idea to do that, you know?
Well, and also Iran says that the US has responded to its latest peace proposal. I think the truth of the matter is that right now, the so-called peace president wants out.
He does want out. And I give him his out. Like, he's afraid that he's going to lose face. He doesn't have to lose face. All he has to do is go to the world and say, look, if we continue this, I'm justified in continuing this on moral grounds, but on ethical grounds, on realistic grounds, I can't do that because, yes, I am justified in attacking Iran, but if I continue to do that, the world economy will suffer. Many people will suffer. So I can't let that happen. In the meantime, we have decimated Iran. They can't do this. They can't do that. And we'll come back and revisit them when we want to. But in the meantime, for the interest of world economy and the benefit of the people of the world, I'm going to have to stop this right now. The only other option I have is full war, and that will cost a lot of lives. So,
yeah, exactly.
He can say that. He's a good enough liar. He can make it convincing.
All right. We're going to have to call it quits because you've got to go do your thing.
Yes, I do.
Do my thing.
Yes, and as a final thing, I'd like to bring up Palestine, like I do all the time, and particularly the Gaza Strip. Like, this is another thing where they're supposed to have a peace deal, and Trump is supposed to get the board of peace going and all that. They've had some small elections, as we pointed out the last time, but the fact of the matter is the Israelis are still killing people with bombs all the time. Killing children, anybody in the way. If they have any idea that this guy or that guy might be in a building, to blow the whole damn thing up and kill every kid, woman, child, any innocents that happen to be there, and then say, oh well, they were using them as human shields. Most of the time, they're just hiding someplace.
All right.
And a lot of times they get the wrong people. When they bomb Lebanon, they're after Shia Hezbollah people. When they bombed southern Lebanon, they killed over 200 Sunni Muslims. The bombs dropped in the wrong spot. They killed innocent Sunnis. You know what gives with that? You know, so I don't know. They're out of control, and the best thing the United States could do is start to control their client state, not like the client state controls them, which it looks like now, and eliminate the power of the Israeli lobby. Make them become a foreign lobby like everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Yeah. And
without further ado, I bid you adieu.